Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another Radix recap. It is July 4th, 2025. My name is Adam Simmons, and joining me is none other than Radix founder, Dan Hughes. How are you doing this afternoon, Dan?
I'm good. I'm good. Hold on, let me turn these damn notifications off. Bloody hell, Telegram. Whoops.
That's always a dangerous game, opening up Telegram, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, well, you added me to a new group earlier, and so I forgot to go and click mute.
Ah, yeah. You shouldn't tell people about that new that I added you to. Very exciting, though.
Why?
Maybe we'll touch on it, maybe.
Yeah,
We're
we can
building...
touch on it. Yeah.
It's called building anticipation. A little
Okay.
tease at the start. Get
Got
into
you.
it
All
later.
right. Yeah. I'm still learning.
But how are you doing? Have you had a good week?
I have had a good week. I got home this morning from my travels. Productive as always in Jersey with Andy, going over lots and lots of interesting things, brainstorming lots and lots of interesting things, some of which you will hear about quite soon. Um, and yeah, so home this morning. Uh, had a nice school breakfast thing because Zach is obviously moving up a year very soon. So every year the school does this like school breakfast thing where you go along and you meet new teachers and stuff. So did that this morning. Rushed home to be in time for that, and then
You get the breakfast.
yeah, just
Is it a good
well,
breakfast?
I got a sausage butty,
That's
which
pretty good.
it is pretty good. Yeah, it was a good bap, sausages piled with sausages, actually, brown sauce, just what I needed.
I will fight anyone. British breakfast are top tier.
Oh yeah, a full English, you can't go wrong with that.
Do you do the black pudding though?
I do, yes, and I'm north. You see, black
Yeah.
pudding,
Greg's and black pudding, two differentiators of the north-south divide in the UK. That is a
and the
very...
color of tea.
Do you think? I'm not so sure
Yes,
on that one.
I think the further north you get, the darker it gets.
Worth an
I
investigation.
think so.
The,
Anyway,
my
a
favorite
splash of milk is the term.
my favorite north-south divide in the UK. This is very specific. Anyone outside of the UK, you're just getting some like weird niche knowledge here. Is the
Getting some culture. That's what you're getting.
Greg's per capita is the true north-south divide,
Oh yeah, for sure,
which is not a straight
100%.
line. It's kind of weirdly diagonal. And if you don't know what a
And
Greg's
there is
is,
another one. There is another one. If you go to a fish and chip shop and they don't offer gravy, you're in the south. If they
true.
do offer gravy, you're in the north.
And if you're in a very very specific place, they'll offer you chip spice.
Yes.
Don't know what it is.
See?
Still don't to this day, but it's chip spice. But anyway, um,
Yeah, I mean, a bit of a tangent there, but
bit
okay.
of a
All started
tangent.
from chip butties at the school this morning, but it's all good.
So, shall we dive into some stuff going on? So, I guess the
Yeah,
first bit of foundation news is another week, another wallet update. Wallet Devs Foundation are cooking. Um,
absolutely.
I'm starting to get scared for their health, if I'm honest. Like, I'm not sure where the HR rules are on how much Monster and Red Bull we feed them, but it's working.
Are we feeding them Monster and Red Bull? I wasn't aware of this. That's bad.
I mean, I
See,
assume everyone is. I mean, I go through about 2 liters of it a day, so I assume it's just company policy now.
I actually kicked my Red Bull habit not quite a while ago now. It was interesting. It was a bit cold turkey, so I don't have much caffeine anymore. Red Bull gone, and if you do drink a lot of those energy drinks, I would advise to try and get off them if you can. Feel way better.
I have the no sugar one. Does that help?
No, apparently that's even worse because the
Oh,
substitute they put in for sugar is like cancer inducing and all this kind of stuff. So you're better off just having the sugar ones.
fair enough. But anyway, wallet update, Dan. We're on tangent
Yes,
afternoon here. Wallet update. So we now have a Discover tab. So
we do.
this got quite a 50-50 reaction because obviously it is something which some people are like, why have you added this in? And it's a change of ethos, really, for how we've been going about some of the updates. So the Discover tab is basically a place where someone who's downloaded the Radix wallet, up until very recently, they were presented with making Radix accounts, and that was about it. If you didn't know what
Yeah.
you're doing or where you're going, good luck. And there was some logic behind that, basically going, do people just randomly download a crypto wallet without knowing anything about that? The other side to that argument is going, well, even if you did know about it and you've got to there, you probably want to be directed to some other places and things that we kind of want and get involved in the ecosystem, in whatever else. So a couple of updates ago, wallet team in the dApp directory, a much requested feature. This update
Yes.
also had some enhancements to that as well. So there's now categories, filters, so you can find the dApps you're looking for, and that's been some great work added on there. The next obvious piece was going, well, if you're new to Radix, you may be able to find dApps, but you kind of want to know what's going on in the community. So that's what the Discover tab does. So it now has kind of the latest blogs that have been out, links to channels, social channels, learning resources, all in one feed, all in one place. So if you're new to Radix, or someone who's just checking in or checking back or something like that, you're easily directed to all the official. So that is now live.
Yeah, and as well, it's a necessary addition for some stuff I'm kind of thinking about and having conversations about on the sidelines, because I really want to start pushing outside of the crypto bubble a little bit, and try and draw in, you know, people who aren't even crypto noobs, like proper mass market and stuff. And some of those ideas of what I've been brainstorming, um, when I was in Jersey and the team strategy days a couple of weeks ago up in Manchester, on, how do you pull in, like, just normal people, you know if there's a product or service that we can think of that's quick to implement and doesn't cost a lot to run, you know and we can build it quick, or maybe even the community can build it quick, that can draw in people who have never even used crypto before, never been interested in crypto before, and then they land in the wallet because they actually want to use, some product or service that they're interested in that isn't just usual crypto DeFi stuff. Then a Discover tab where they can then see, what Radix is all about and stuff, is a nice piece of that, because they land in via something that wasn't necessarily crypto focused or even related. Land in the wallet. Okay, what's this Radix thing? So there is a method to the madness of having that in there, outside of the usual what you might think. So, there's nothing really formed in terms of these strategies yet. They're just, thinking, just brainstorming, trying to think outside the box a little on ideas that might bring in some, new users that have never used crypto before. And the best place for new users to go, as we all know, is Radix, because it's nice and safe and it's fast and it's cool. So yeah, the Discover tab would be pretty important for that if we actually go anywhere with it.
Definitely. And the foundational pieces that are in Radix make it incredibly good.
Right, exactly.
As everyone who's used Radix knows, once you show someone a transaction in Radix, I try not to mention it too often, but if you've put someone through RadQuest, they go, this actually makes sense to me. I can understand using it. Then try and onboard them to Ethereum or Solana or like other kind of newer networks. It's still a bit janky and a bit confusing, and people don't really get it. And that is the real big benefit of Radix, and one of the reasons why we've got such a community and great ecosystem is rabbit hole. Once you get started, you suddenly realize everything else Radix, and you back. So great to hear those things are on the cards, and great to see these
Yeah,
wallet updates
I
coming through.
think that, if you're going after pure crypto, never used it before ever, I still think there's maybe some pain points with our stack. But overall, yeah, it's way easier to get started if you've never used crypto before than, MetaMask or any of the other wallets that are out there. So, just something that's ticking over in the background that's worth mentioning.
Talking of ticking over in the background, before we get into a big foundation thing that's going on, I'm going to ask you the question. I think I know the answer since you're busy in lots of meetings, but any I have to
So
ask because
in
otherwise I get
terms of
stabbed with pitchforks.
yeah, I know. So in terms of actual movement now on development, it's still quite slow. I've been traveling around and stuff, but we did have some very good calls last week to nail down a tentative date, which we have done, and we are hoping to get confirmation on that. I believe this week, right, Adam? Not this week, next week. It's Friday.
Yep, early next week.
So yeah, it's an achievable date. Uh, it's good to have one finally that's looking like everybody's happy with. So I need to stop again playing around and making it better and lock it all down now so that we can actually hit that. But then the all the work I've been doing over the past few months, in between all the many hats I've had to be wearing, it's way more robust than it was in December. Confidence level of anything going wrong is so much higher. So
Things not going
throughput
wrong, I
potential
assume you mean.
is
The
up
confidence level on it
as
not
well.
going wrong.
The confidence level not going wrong. Yes, my bad. Sorry. Yeah. I'm very confident it's going to explode. Is not what I wanted to say. So I just really need to park out a couple of weeks of uninterrupted stuff, which I've got a bit of travel again next week. Something very exciting, which I will no doubt report on when I'm there, and then I should get a couple of weeks of free run because all the necessary hat wearing has been done at that point.
If I'm not
Because things change
mistaken,
a little bit.
the next week one is kind of hyperskirt.
It is a little, but here you go with the anticipation building again, right?
Yeah, it's because I'm envious of it. It'll all come to light next week, but
Yeah,
it'll
you were
be
very happy when I told you. Hey, guess
well.
where I'm going?
I was happy. I'm glad it means that it's a good opportunity for Radix. It was one of those times when founder privilege slaps you, though.
Oh yeah, I don't get that very often,
No,
so it was nice.
you deserve it. You've had a rough couple of months, so you definitely deserve it. But yeah,
Thank you.
anyway,
Yeah.
enough teasing on that. I know you've also given some updates on your kind of many hats wearing in Telegram last night. I don't know if you want to touch on any of those briefly.
Yeah, so it's been a little bit of chatter here and there that I've stepped back into wearing hats at RDX as well. So there's a bunch of questions in traders which the community have been needing answers for a while, but just haven't been able to give them up until this point. So if you're interested in an interesting discussion that was had last night, then go into the trader channel and you can catch up there. Should answer a number of questions and maybe some concerns that you've had over the past 6 months or so. And it'll give you a little bit of an insight into just how much I've had going on recently. So no excuses, just there's been a lot going on and a lot I've had to do. And I'm kind of glad that that chapter is coming to a close and I can get back to normal. I really miss just sitting here for like 4 or 5 days, not having to run around or jump on millions of calls and just code. Really cold turkey on that. So the sooner I can get back to that, the better. And that seems to be pretty close.
Very good to hear. And I know I speak for everyone in the community, knowing that we want you back in Coding Cave, locked away,
Yes.
building, and getting a well. But more on that soon.
Finally.
Next bit of update is there'll be some more news coming out straight after this space for anyone who is watching, listening live, which is we announced last night that we are doing a public test of the Radix reward point campaign next week. So starting July 7th at exactly midnight. So that's Monday, July 7th, and July 13th, a minute before midnight time, basically doing a complete dry run of the back end MVP of Radix Reward. So this is to manage expectations appropriately. The front end is functional. It is not going to win any design awards. It is not meant to. There's probably going to be some jankiness to that. We are aware. We don't care right now. What we're really testing is the back end system for tracking activity, making sure those activity points are being correctly counted, getting any edge cases that we don't want or exploits are correctly being mitigated, and those activity points converted into correctly, XRD multipliers, and all those sort of things. All of those systems work. All the backend databases, the on-ledger stuff, and gateway queries, and all that sort of stuff works as in. Now, I really want to give a shout out at the foundation and a couple of people who have been helping out on what has been built for the so far. Because Dan, I know you've been somewhat involved with this as well, but we set them an aggressive deadline, like early July, ready to launch. And the concession I gave when I said this is when we want to do it for was it can be a true MVP. We can iterate week on week on week, but we've got to have at least the XRD part of this and at least USDC in on at least like these major dApps. And they've done more than that. They've actually got down to the cores of the activity track and the pool track. So we've got the big four blue chip assets. We've got top 5 dApps by TVL incorporated in there. We've got a couple of catch-all things incorporated in there, as well as trading of those assets, as well as liquidity. All done, and a front end that's functional and actually showing more information than we had in the MVP spec anyway. And that is because they have been absolutely and really huge shout out to those people involved. You know who you are. But again, sure there'll be some rough edges in the test next week, but it is essentially a release candidate, assuming things all go. So please participate in that test. As I said, at the end of this, shortly afterwards, I'll be posting it. I'll be putting up a blog post on basically how to enroll, because very important reminder for everyone, the incentives aren't automatic. If you want to participate in Radix rewards for getting involved in the putting in capital, liquidity, doing these things, you have to go and enroll in it. You have to use Radix wallet to connect, link any accounts that you tracked, and from the point you link those accounts and enroll, your activity will be tracked. If you don't, it will not be. So go and enroll for the test next week. You can enroll over the weekend. We'll be putting out loads of reminders, but please, 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 if you are at all active in the Radix ecosystem, come and do it. The amount you do doesn't really matter at this stage. Obviously, if you want to come in and put $1 million of USD one of the lending platforms or into a DEX, go for it. Obviously, that's a great thing. Equally, if you just want to put in like $1 just to see if it works, please do that as well. Like, give all of the things a try, put some assets in, do some trades and stuff like that, because that gives us the back end data.
Yeah, the team have absolutely smashed us at the park. Like it's been a big piece of work, a big lift. Over the course of about 3 months when development actually kicked off, I think. Maybe not even that. So yeah, I mean, just absolute machines, everybody going above and beyond to get this ready to go, and the timelines that we're given, which were very aggressive, and to over deliver on the integration priorities for various things as well. Really absolute top-notch work. So proud of the team.
I can tell you exact date. It was April 11th. There was obviously some design work and strategy work done before then, but like pull the trigger on, let's work on this full speed. Foundation devs was April 11th. So flat out on it, getting these things working.
Absolutely, yeah. Not even 3 months. And also remember, that was still very much a transition period from RDX to Foundation as well. Back end of getting settled in and all these kind of things. So yeah, really done an amazing job. Absolutely.
Also, a thank you goes out to many of the app builders in the ecosystem, because they have been helpful in nearly every case with providing information, providing some library, giving some explainers to many of who are catching up kind of parts of the stack they wouldn't working on the RDX side to get this working. And I'm sure we'll be asking questions, add more assets, apps, etc. Please continue that, and it really is exciting what we've got here. So please take part in the test, even if it's with like a couple of dollars of liquidity. Please do it. It's just very, very useful. So that data, I'm sure there'll be some rough edges. I'm sure there'll be some things to learn. But yeah, very excited.
Yeah, this is also a really good showcase of what us and the community can actually achieve together when it's it's specced out and there's motivation to do it, and it's been planned as well as it could be. I mean, planning it was quickly. We wanted to get this out very as quickly as possible, right? This is like a major piece of the different strategy that we're running. But you know, such a huge piece of work, and to have all those moving parts with community as well, and for it all to just come together, it's a real good showcase of not just the foundation team, but the community teams as well. And just again, as always, just showcases what a great community we have. With some very smart cookies and dedicated people.
And some, I won't name them because I don't know if publicly. But we've also had a couple of devs from the contribute for code for the Radix Reward.
Yes,
And they have
we
been
have.
awesome. And what is really, as a non-tech person or non-dev myself, what is really impressive is the depth of knowledge of for a technology stack that is only really open for people to play around with. What coming up years now? There's
Yeah, about
people.
that. Yeah.
Yep, there's people who have now been able to help on core use of these things, have a breadth of knowledge, dApps that aren't even their own dApps, and being able to huge talent in the Radix community makes me super bullish about things that can happen once we start getting attention in. And on the intention in, Dan,
Makes me very excited as well. Like, it makes me very excited. Like, if there are big projects in the future that the foundation wants to do, maybe even more complex than this, gives me a lot of excitement that one, those things can be achieved, and two, they'll be shit hot. Right? I mean, so the sky is the limit in terms of what we can build together. I think, because this was such a huge piece of work. There's no reason why, with similar collaborations in the future, we can't do things even better.
100%. Dan, I touched on the kind of rollout plan for this. I know you've shared some thoughts in Telegram about got some quite strong feelings on how you want the rollout program not being necessarily a big bang day one. And I think it'd be really good for you to kind of talk about reasoning for people listening, because context and perspective there, I think, are really solid insights, and learning from a lot of mistakes and things that haven't gone well over the last 2 years.
Yeah, it's just like there was always before kind of this strategy of here's something new that's going to be launched, and eh, more product focused as well, which this really isn't really a product, right? But there was a lot of marketing push before, and ramp up of awareness, and then you know, as is the Radix curse, things would go wrong or they would be delayed, and then the marketing efforts and the PR efforts that you, Adam, we're heading up, would then have to kind of pivot or re-strategize, and momentum was lost. And it's very difficult to get that momentum going again after that, as we saw on a few occasions. So, um, and because we're running a much smaller team and a tighter ship at the moment, didn't want to risk one, burning spend on um, marketing campaigns and things when there's always a potential that things can slip, right? So definitely didn't want to spend money that we trying to spend sensibly and then have to stop and then do another one at it. But also more than that is loss of momentum. So we're taking a much more conservative approach, and I think that's that's sensible, right? We are running tight. We're being very frugal with how we spend and what we spend on. But I think that strategy also plays out okay here, because this is a campaign that's going to run for a long time, right? So I think it's fine if there isn't this kind of big bang event on the day that it launches, and that can come a little while later, and build up to it so that we garner momentum. So it's just a slightly different strategy, because I just have a lot of PTSD over
the way that things was previously executed and the issues that that caused. So just don't want to make the same mistakes, basically.
I also think it's from a technical standpoint, or not technical standpoint, but from a post economic standpoint, you need to build this up as a snowball rather than suddenly dropping a whole bunch of people day one. While while it can feel that way of like, oh, it'd be great if we just suddenly got loads and loads and loads and loads of people. You need the supply and demand side to balance up nicely.
Yeah.
Systems to get checked. Any things that aren't quite working the way you necessarily want them to work. And I don't mean that from technically working the way, but tweaking, say, the amount of season activities are grouped together, or getting the supply and demand side ramping up together equally. Because otherwise, first impressions you get maybe aren't the first impression want people outside of the have. And that means that you need to have a building phase and sustained growth. I think the market waking up. And these are conversations that I have behind closed doors as well, with high net worths, with institutions, is that kind of hype pump cycle is something that people are shying away from now. They're seeing real value being built in. Going is like, is this same momentum? Tech, they're looking for those things going at kind of traditional Y Combinator, any kind of accelerator thing going, but it's your 7 to 10% week on week. That's the thing that they're looking for. Where is that number?
Yeah.
Are you sustaining that, and are you growing that on your actual like lifetime value of users and network activity, or whatever the equivalent may be, rather than just going, hey, we're doing a super splashy campaign with Matt Damon in a TV advert that's going to be good for a week, and everything falls off a cliff, because they've learned from that. They've seen what happens when that goes through. So definitely planning on all of the rollout stuff. There's a lot of stuff cooking behind the scenes on that. But we are very much going that we announce things when we're at very high confidence. Why we announced the test next week yesterday, because we wanted to get to the point that we would do internal tests, wanted to make sure they were all looking, rather than being like, oh, we're going to do a test then and then move it a few days or something like that. It's like, nope, this is when it's happening, it's going. So expect that kind of cadence of rollout and then get involved, because that's the thing that makes it.
Well said.
Speaking of PR though, Dan, you are making some places, Wikipedia, in the last 2 weeks. Well, speaking about airdrops is one of the things. They did a whole big piece off the back of proof of talk, and I think you were quoted 4 times in one article.
Yes, I was.
That's very rare. It's rare you get quoted, or not you specifically, but anyone in kind of like a multiple opinion like that a single person gets multiple times.
I know. Yeah, and interestingly, the other chap, Martin, who was quoted in the article a bunch of times, was on the panel I did at Proof of Talk as well. So I thought that was interesting that me and him obviously been interviewed for this piece that went out, and we had some similar overlapping opinion, but then also different opinions on each end of the spectrum. So it was a really nice article actually, and it was nice that it was written almost in a way as if me and Martin were having a conversation, right? There'd be my opinion on something, and then his, and then the next question and stuff. But yeah, I'm not quite getting as much PR content as I maybe was a few months ago, because it's just time. But there is a lot going on. PR build up and stuff. There's quite a lot of stuff scheduled. Got some really good podcasts coming up over the next month or so. So kind of what Yap have done is, while I'm crazy busy running around and time saturated, kind of boot things in the future a little bit, just so that I'm able to focus on what I need to focus on right now, and then get back on the PR bandwagon and stuff. But occasionally, one drops out, and this was one of them, and it was a nice piece.
We've also got weirdly not weirdly, but nice coincidence of some of these things now timing up very nice. Incentives for hyperscale, for Hyperlane, those things together nice. So that's a good benefit. You've also, as ever with PR, earned PR is very much dependent on what is happening in the space, who else is talking, what news is happening. Some of you may have noticed it's quite a busy cycle last month or two. So that naturally leads into things both in crypto and outside, and markets generally, and all of that. So the team at Yap are all on board, ready for the hyperscale stuff. They're all ready for the incentive stuff. Got some good plans there. Gearing all of that up as well. And I've also do want to shout out some people, specifically Seven. So Seven has been amazing stuff on getting organized around doing some community that are really solid. So please get involved if you've got some time, if you've got some skills, even if it's just reach out to Seven, reach out to other ambassadors as well, because it makes such a big. Obviously they're here, but like people like Machinist, running Radix review Friday nights, all of these sort of creates a bigger surface area. Beam, of course, with Coffee with Beam or Coffee Beam. X-Space, like these are all surface area, and from a marketing perspective, nothing works better than someone who you relate to telling you why they like a thing. Hearing me or Dan or a brand account or something saying why something's great, it works. Like otherwise, marketing wouldn't exist. But real people who are similar, makes a like the Trove blog that went out. Rippy's name in the list here, like a solo dev who has built Trove and Trove Pro. That story is going to relate really well. Other solo devs, other people wanting to start building in Web3. It may not resonate quite as well with a large enterprise who is looking for deployment in Web, and vice versa, if they did a case study or something like that. So more surface area, the more you get involved, the better. And there's so much talent in the lean into people trying to self-organize and trying grassroots. Radix is in many ways the last viable OG, and that's something worth fighting for. And Dan, I know you've got something on that as well.
Do I?
You do the whole like the original versus chains nowadays.
Oh right, I see. Okay, yeah. Okay, I was missing some context there. Yeah, I mean, like there isn't really anything like us that's still out there, right? I mean, even a number of projects that did start out with perhaps many of the same values as Radix, for want of a better phrase, have sold their souls to the devil. And we're still very grassroots. We're still very aligned with the philosophies and the fundamentals of the original crypto movement. Decentralization, self-sovereignty, permissionlessness, and all those things. And yeah, you just don't really see that very much now, or even over the past 5 years or so. So, we have a lot of special things, and we've had some hard times and some bad luck with stuff. But the way things are moving and the stuff that's happening and things that are on the near horizon and stuff, and a kind of revived community. I'm very, very positive, bullish, and confident about where we're going to be in 6 months, 12 months, 18 months. I think once we really start moving, and some of the things over the next few months, they land and they get some traction, we can be a real force to be reckoned with over the next 12 months or so. And it will appeal as well, like all those OGs in crypto and people who are fatigued with just this pure speculation and getting wrecked and all. I think that the values that we have as a community and as a project, I do think that they will resonate.
Also, another aspect to that, government and major players are also starting to see the value of some of those far more. So I know there was a lot of talk in the community around like the Bank of England putting out a challenge around, can a public actually player the central bank assets on? There's some about like Robin Hood launching derivative equities on Arbitrum, for example, where major players are waking up that actually, whereas the conversation a year or two ago was very about private networks, or they just launched a chain or something, they're starting to realize the benefits of a unified network, much like intrawebs or intranets versus the interweb, net rather. And then second piece is they're also asking some pretty deep questions. The Bank of England one that can kind of slip under the radar of people is there are a big chunk of their questions around protocol, asking about how is that done, how are protocol updates issued, how are they voted on, what's the governance on it, how do validators work, and really a lot of those questions are coming from sensible thinking that if you're a public network, who controls what changes. And this is again another reason why these individual, even if they were individual public networks, going, well, it's great if say, Bank of England launched a public DLT called the Bank of England chain, for example, and then Germany and France and Spain and Portugal and Argentina and Brazil all do the same. But if one of them pumps out an update that then breaks interoperability between the others, that causes everyone a problem. And so they're looking at this, and the same question kind of comes to the chain side of things, going, well, if there's just a handful of these controlling this chain effectively, is that a suitable environment to launch in, as well as all the scalability Radix? So super bullish is my view on this, is that fundamental meta and fundamental narrative is actually better than people.
Yeah, and there was that period quite early on as well, where it was like 2014, 2015, where there was all these kind of private chains built specifically for banking and institutions and stuff, like R3 Corda, I think Hyperledger, and a few others. And they got a bit of traction, but they never really got outside of the, kind of pilot phase. And I think a lot of banks, institutions were left feeling somewhat underwhelmed by what was offered and the complexity of getting those to talk to each other and stuff. And I think it was always inevitable that it would come full circle. It was really just a case of when, right? And it seems that when is about now. So there's a huge opportunity here, to really push on the benefits of public ledgers for central banks and large institutions and stuff, and really showcase what can be done. And probably more so now, because there's been a lot of progress in terms of the developer stack and the various primitives that are available, and what you can do. And this isn't specifically a Radix thing. I think just across the entire space there has been endless progress across many niches and subdomains of utility and stuff like that. And so I think that banks, institutions, etc., if they take another serious look at what public deployed blockchains and ledgers can offer them, I think they will be happily surprised on how far they've come since 10 years ago, right? 2014, 2015. And there's definitely there is definitely enough progress made, and for Radix specifically, absolutely enough progress has been made where we can support most use cases that central banks and large retail banks, investment firms, etc., we could facilitate and support most of the use cases they would need, which wasn't possible either 10 years ago. So it's prime time to lock that in, and we will do everything we can to lock it into Radix.
100%. And the other bit of interest I've always seen, well, how are they going to understand the crypto? How are they really going to get this? Has changed, especially in the last, that all of these large institutions now really are understanding and digging DLT tech by and really get it. It's no longer a fleet like Skunkworks And I know I reference it often, but it's why you have like Larry Fink from BlackRock constantly going on about how everything will be tokenized. Why you have the President of the United States talking about everything being and crypto, Bank of England and whatever. Like this is being taken seriously, no longer a side. Super exciting. Self plug on this. If you haven't read it, I put an X article out around basically why the industry go TradFi, why technical innovation, experience, and basically development in the space is wise kind of risk that initial loss that I'm sure everyone here got involved with. So love to know people as well. But I am conscious of time, Dan, because I know you are
Yes,
very
we
busy.
are.
We are going.
We are
So
getting very full today.
would you like to do the quick update that we had around the Telegram chat I added you to, and the
Yeah. So yeah, this is very quick. So we had an update call with Hyperlane just before we did the spaces. Everything there is going really well. They're on target. Loving the building on the Radix stack, which is nice to hear. Yeah, just things are moving in the direction they need to. And we're going to have like weekly updates with them just to stay on top of things. But yeah, it was a great update. I mean, nothing really more to share than that. It was a very short meeting. I think Adam, like 15 minutes tops. It was like, yeah, everything's fine, on target. It's all great. Radix is cool. Carry on.
which, to be fair, is exactly what you want to hear when you're on our side of that
exactly
that
the news I want to
conversation.
hear on a Friday. Yes, yeah, it is. So,
And I'm just jumping in early as well. The people who heard that we have a weekly catch up with them, that isn't the only comms we have with them. We speak with them regularly. That's just our weekly progress sync with the wider team. We're supporting them all the way through this, but things are going really well in these early stages. They're happy.
Yeah,
we're happy.
they had some questions, and so kind of answered those for them. And there's various groups where there's constant comms backwards and forwards and stuff. But obviously, I've been traveling a lot most of the week and last week as well. So these weekly updates that we're having on a Friday, I guess, are more for me at the moment, just so I can have a quick update on where we are. Are there any problems? Is progress good? What do you need? Do you need anything? It just keeps me in the loop.
And looped in you were today. So we've got 15 minutes at most, Dan.
Okay.
Have you got the doc in front of you for the ecosystem updates?
I do. I see Astral Lesson is there as usual.
Yeah, there's many here. So do you want to pick some? And because I always rattle through, I think we should share.
Well, the thing is, you're way more in touch with what's going on in the community at the moment because I'm always traveling or in meetings or God knows what. So, I mean, like these ecosystem updates that we do on these Fridays is just as much for me as everybody else at the moment. So I will let you run point.
Fair enough then. Okay, Radix Kingdoms. So fantastic game on Radix. It's live on the main net. It's a PvP strategy game where you can basically mine and battle other kingdoms using K-Gold. It's on chain. It's action ready. I've already seen in Telegram people sitting there saying that they're going to attack each other and stuff like that, which for a brief moment does make me quite concerned, being like, I'm going to come and attack you. And I'm like, whoa. And then I'm like, oh, it's Radix Kingdoms. So definitely give that a go. It's good fun. Notix from Shard Space, they've been shipping more features as well. So Notix, don't know, is like a push notification service for on-chain activity. Fantastic.
Yeah, this is very cool, actually. Yeah, I've been seeing the notifications around like new TVL coming in, new X assets and stuff, and various things. Yeah, it's very cool. Notix.
Yep. So awesome work by Avant there. So they've got a new catalog feature is what they've added, and they've also added one-click adding for popular accounts, components, and anything else that gets popular on Notix. So, for example, a new token launch on a launch pad or something that's got hot. So, fantastic work there. Staying on Shard Space, they now have cross-chain swaps live. So, you can now trade and do cross-chain swaps for Sol, Base, Sui, Bitcoin, ETH, Arbitrum, Maya, Thorchain, and XRD, all directly from your dashboard there. They've also just finished their Trove Pro integration and got that live, so you can manage your NFT listings, as well as listing cancel directly from Shard Space. We've had a new beta
They've been
launch.
busy.
They have. They've been shipping a lot. They've been doing a lot behind the scenes, which I'm fortunate enough that I get to see because of kind of the grants program and catch ups that we have with there. But they've been laying a lot of groundwork to ship quickly. Yeah, great work to Shard Space.
Very cool.
Had a new beta launch as well, so Radfolio. So Radfolio is a Radix native portfolio manager where you can kind of manually add accounts or link accounts that you've got. You can have real-time token balances and charts and action history and all of those sort of good stuff. And they're bringing out kind of NFT analysis, top performers, performance analytics there. So again, another new project, new devs, ecosystem, building some cool stuff.
Very
Our good
cool.
friends over at Astralescent, they have got in just in time for getting a new update on this space. So great work, Timon. Cardano is now live for the Astralescent bridge. So you can now bridge ADA to Radix with just a few clicks, which again is...
Congratulations, Cardano, for being listed on Radix.
Congratulations, Cardano, getting listed on Radix. And also congratulations to Astralescent, of course. I don't have the full list of all the chains and wallets they support, but it's getting very, very long now. So I can't rattle it off.
Oh yeah, it must be. It's like the Astralescent has been a point of this ecosystem update for about 6 months now, every time. So
going well. Trove
going well.
Trove have launched their Terracotta Army of so TAOX now live. So these are some of their experimental NFTs or NFTX or NFXs. I can't remember exactly how they say it, but this is using sub-intents and dynamic traits, which is really cool.
Oh.
So I won't go into all the details of how it works. One, because I don't know them all off the top of my head, and B, we are short on time and there's a lot of updates. But this is, again, just really cool innovation. I'm really happy. I know we spoke about this last time on the recap, Dan, but I'm really happy people are playing around with sub-intents now. Really cool things you can do.
I think it was always one of those things that was going to have a bit of latency before people picked them up and actually figured out, how to use them, what you could do with them and stuff. So yeah, it is really cool to see them being used. And I'm sure there's many cool uses of them to come over the coming months. But yeah, it is good to see them because they are very powerful.
It's also one of my, not sub-intents specifically, but when people start playing around with things and talking about them and putting out these ideas and test cases, like Austin did one with Ice NFT when LC 404s came out and things like that there's something I've called for a long time, like a spark of innovation. And that spark suddenly leads to a lot of people looking at it. So I know Beam has also sub-intents and a few other people have as well. And it's like, once a few people just start playing around with it, suddenly you'll find a lot of people start playing around with it. They go, oh, I didn't know you could do... I can do that. I didn't know I could do that. Oh, maybe I could do this as well. Suddenly it kind of like kicks off that chain reaction. So
you get 20 ideas and then you got to decide which one you're going to do first.
Yep. And luckily, we have a lot of devs in the ecosystem who are very talented. So
indeed,
divvy them up between, because there's some really cool stuff that can be done there. Moving on, we've also got Radix API with a new update. So they've got an update. Those of you who don't know, Radix API provides basically similar to like RPC services for mainly B2B, to query on-chain Radix data in an API format for tons of use cases. But they've just added in better NFT ID sorting and also operational parameters for NFT ID ranges. This is one of these things which, if you're not a dev, may be like, oh, why does this matter? But Radix API come up at least once a month with external conversations I have of people looking to do stuff with Radix and going, oh, is there RPC clients? Do we have to run on our own node? Are there anything surfacing this information? It's like, yeah, Radix API. And then they come back and go like, wow, that's really cool. That is super mature for an ecosystem and network size of Radix. So big shout out to Radix API team there. These are the sort of things that they may not get splashed on the front page of crypto news, but are the things that in the back end power a lot of stuff. So that is great. Talking of back end things that maybe you see but make big differences, SRWA have just had their registration with the provider. So they're the financial regulator. So
Very good.
again, another milestone for RWAs and projects on Radix being able to do things there, legitimate long-term thinking projects. So congratulations there. And last but certainly not least, Liquify has rebuilt their platform. So Liquify now automates LPs, got some incentive settings to liquidity, and they are currently testing it on StokeNet and have asked for us to give them a shout out. Anyone who StokeNet or willing to test, go and give it a go and give it back. It'd be much appreciated.
There you go. Yeah. Wow. I mean, so much happens in 2 weeks, dude. Every single time, and this list is only going to get longer, I'm sure, over the coming months. So, our spaces is either going to have to be very fast, and people have to play it back at half speed, or it's going to take 2 hours at this rate.
That playback of multiple is my favorite. I think in the last couple of years, at least, like my life of being able to like watch YouTube videos at 2x speed literally halves the time I have to spend on stuff because you get it. I mean, we're doing it right now, but so many they're there and they talk at this kind of speed because they want to pad out the minutes for the monetization.
You're watching those kind of things, yeah, where it's stretched out. Yeah, 2x on them is great.
Yeah. I wish I could go faster, if I'm honest. Yeah, anyway, random tangent. Any other random tangents or actual useful stuff done?
No, I don't think so. I think I've spent all my random and useful tangents already today. So I can't think. Nothing springs to mind.
Here's one for you. We mentioned Greg's,
Oh,
and that's something that
yes.
the non-Brits may not know. Describe
Back to
Greg's and
Greg's.
why it's brilliant.
Describe Greg's. Oh, it's like your sausage rolls and your pasties and just greasy, greasy northern food that keeps you warm in the winter. This is what I think about when I think about Greg's. I love it. It's great.
One I found out recently is I flew from an airport I never normally fly from, East Midlands. They have a Greg's there. And I was like, this is...
Oh.
Why do I want to go like from Heathrow Terminal 5 to like Gordon Ramsay's place when there could be a Greg's in an airport?
Yeah, I mean, you just go for the Greg's, right?
Yep.
Like, it's the good thing with Greg's and like things like McDonald's and stuff. I mean, it's not great food, right? But has anybody ever been like violently food poisoned from a Greg's or a McDonald's? I don't think so. I never have. But then, you go to a Gordon Ramsay's and you probably, because it's all fancy and larpy, you guarantee like 1 out of 5 times you go, you're going to spend 2 days in bed with some kind of poisoning. So, not the best food, but when you're traveling somewhere or you've got a tight schedule and you can't afford to be ill, then yeah, serves a purpose. But that said, I do need to eat better. I've been eating terribly over the past few months. So please do not bring up things like that.
I'll get Brian Johnson onto you, telling you that you need to
All right, sounds good.
sleep, eat, and maybe don't have time quite now for the 4 hours in a hyperbaric chamber each does or something like that.
No, definitely not time for that.
That's the bit of research he always misses. Always misses that bit of research is, does the time he spends doing this actually equate to a return on investment in terms of lifespan?
I don't know. I mean, maybe, but then you could just get hit by a bus anyway. So
point. And on that bombshell.
Indeed. No, on that bus shell.
Yes. Thank you very much, everyone, for tuning in. Please, final shout out reminder. We'll be kicking off about how to register for the Radix Rewards points airdrop test next week. Shortly, go and register your account. Take part next week, even if it's just with $1. But if you want to do it with $1 million, go for that too. There will be.
Well, hold on. That's bad advice, though, right? Because if you put $1 million in now, then you're only going to get season 0 rewards. So if you got $1 million, wait for season 1?
No, you don't need to do that, Dan. You can put $1 million
You
in
don't?
now and get
Yeah.
a big bonus for taking part in the testing and earn great yields that are going on in the Radix ecosystem and still get the exact same benefit that you would on. It's not like you miss out, you just get extra.
Oh, right, great. You've convinced me. Time to go mortgage the house.
Right? On that, thank you very much, everyone, and we will see you in 2 weeks' time.
We will. Thanks, everyone.